Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and we're doing yet another random ass anime review. And because winter is coming, I figured the one that I'd be taking a look at is a really weird obscure anime called Ice. Yep, just regular ass ice, not Ice Blast or Ice Storm or I don't know, Vanilla Ice. No, just regular ass ice. And it's a OVA series of 3 episodes. And it is considered as a science fiction, post-apocalyptic, and even a Yuri. And before you ask, no, not Yuri on Ice. Wow, how ironic is that? Anyways, let's get to the main point and start talking about the story. So it begins in the year 2012, where there is actually no such thing as men anymore. The world is just filled with women and that's it. So therefore, the world can't reproduce anymore because, there's no, males to reproduce with, so pretty much the world is just slowly dying off. In fact, you know what the idea of this show kind of reminds me of? Is that it really reminds me of the movie Children of Men. So the main character of this story just happens to be Hitomi, who is the captain of the guardswomen. And apparently she has not slept for 3 years because she is emotionally disturbed. And why? Well, it's never explained, believe it or not. So eventually her and her crew end up going onto a mission to capture some ice stuff that is supposed to be like some savior of the world or some crap. But it turns out there's a bunch of machines over there and they just kept on killing off some of her soldiers. So as they were evacuating from the area, she happens to be being chased by one of these monster thingies, and eventually she ends up running into someone else named Yuki Ice-T. Yeah, Ice-T, eh? So Yuki happens to be the non-blood related daughter of Kitsuragi, where Kitsuragi is just a big huge family where all they do is just have sex with each other. Not even kidding. But Yuki is the only one who's not a part of that because apparently she's so innocent and pure and whatnot. So when Hitomi ends up saving her, she ends up wanting to become friends with her because, she needs an outside friend that is not a part of her crazy ass family. And speaking of crazy assholes, Yuki has a sister named Satsuki, where pretty much she is a very jealous type, where every time she sees Yuki and Hitomi together, she ends up getting super pissed off and shit. So Hitomi is very confused with this whole friendship ordeal because, she's just a very loner type. So of course Yuki ends up wanting to befriend her and all that kind of shit. But one other thing I should mention is that there is a character named Julia who happens to be the ruling commander of the Gunswoman who has complete control over what Hitomi does. And just like Kitsuragi herself, she is also a crazy bitch. So yeah, Julia and Kitsuragi are always fighting each other with the whole ice thing because they want to have complete control over it. And of course there's also some bullshit going on where one of them is pretending to use it as bioterrorism or some crap. And okay, I gotta be honest guys, the story in this one is so all over the place that I don't even know if I'm really even explaining it right. And even if I am explaining it right, there's not a whole lot I can say about the characters. It's just exactly what I've said about the characters is really all you need to know. And yeah, I do grasp the concept of what's going on here, but just the way how it's told, I just don't have a clue on why things will happen the way they do. Anyways, let's just get moving on here and start talking about the other things, like the animation. And the animation in this one is a mixed bag, but I would say it's more bad than good. So let's talk about the good. So one thing I do like about this one is that I do like the general art style to it. I do find that a lot of the character designs are actually pretty good looking, and also I do like the fact that it does kind of look like a 90s anime, although obviously it doesn't look as good as most other 90s animes that I've seen, but it kind of has that style to it that I do kind of like. Also, the very few mech designs that you see within the show actually do look pretty fucking cool, so there you go. There are some 2 things I can say about this one that are actually quite good, but as for the rest of the parts about animation, yeah, it has a lot to be desired. The animation flow in general is just really fucking choppy looking. I remember one part where you see this one chick's head get blown off. It just looks so badly done. You can tell that this is just a very low budget anime. And this one also does have some 3D stuff in it, and yeah, as I said before many times, is that it just really doesn't look good in this one. Also, there's some parts of the backgrounds do look pretty fucking blurry at times, which is a little unfortunate. So yeah, overall, when it comes to animation on this one, like I said, there's 2 good things I can say, but it's not enough to save it. So now, when it comes to the show's music, the music in this one is just kind of okay. It's nothing great, but it at least suits the show for what it is, and you know what, I don't have any real complaints about it whatsoever, really. I mean, other than the fact that there's no opening intro song, which is a little bit unfortunate, but at least the ending song that does play at the end of each episode is pretty good. So I'll leave it at that, it's just kind of okay. So now, as for the show's voice acting, well, holy shit, the voice acting in this one is not very good. But it is weird to know that the cast in this one is actually not a bad cast. So for just some examples, you got Serena Verhees, then you got Brittany Kibowski, Lucy Christian, Melissa Davis, Emily Neves, Stephanie Whittles, and the final one I'll mention is Chris Patton. Yeah, believe it or not, Chris Patton plays Julia in this, and he actually does sound a lot more of a dude than he does a female. Although I guess that makes sense because, you know, I think the whole point of Julia's character is that she's supposed to be transgender or something. I mean, I know it's not explained in the show, but it just kind of would make sense if she was. But the entire voice cast for the show in English just really sucks. In fact, all the characters in the show are pretty fucking dumb as they are, but the way how they make them sound like with the direction and shit, they make them sound like a bunch of dumb fucking cunts. So now, if I were to give out an overall score on this one, I think I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. Yep, this was another bad one that I just happened to come across. So, part of the big problem is, it's just the main story of it, like I said, it's just all over the place, it's hard to follow, and even when you do understand it, it's really nothing all that special, and the characters are just dumb as fuck. And as I said, the animation in this one, it just has a lot of flaws to it. Even though there are some parts about it that I do like, I don't think it's like the absolute worst animation I've ever seen, but it just could have been a hell of a lot better. But I'm giving this one a 3 instead of a 1 or a 2, mainly because of a few things. For one, the show was, surprisingly enough, I didn't find it to be that boring. I mean, yeah, it was hard to follow at times, and I was kind of like, hey, what the fuck's going on? But I wasn't, like, bored by it. I was at least somewhat intrigued by the fact of the whole concept behind everything. And that's another good thing. The whole concept behind this story is actually pretty good. In fact, like I said, it reminds me of the movie Children of Men, which is actually a pretty good movie. I would recommend checking that out. I mean, I'd rather watch that movie than watch this all over again. And I do like the show's character designs. I still think that actually does look pretty good. And also, I've seen worse shit than this. I mean, obviously I did reviews on shit like Poopa, then there was Photokano, and then there was the Maple Story anime, and then of course there was Agent Eiko, which this show sort of reminds me of in some ways. But believe it or not, there's not nearly as much fan service in this show, which I guess is another good thing, because I was actually kind of expecting it to have a lot, since, you know, Kitsuragi's family likes to have sex with each other and shit, but you don't really see much of it though. So yeah, because I give this one a 3 out of 10, it's kind of hard for me to recommend this one to anyone out there because, you know, it's just a clusterfuck of a story and there's just no good characters. And the concept was good, so it really is just wasted opportunity, which really fucking sucks, but oh well. Before I end it off here, I guess I might as well say, Ice can just melt the fuck away for all I care because fuck these dumb cunts.